Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you travel a little smarter. And I'd like to welcome back to the show. She's living her best life down in Los Angeles. The Magic Keys are coming back for those who already have them. How are you doing this morning, Chris?
Fine. It is a morning if you're a Disneylander, because they announced this new Magic Key program that is like totally written by lawyers, and it's so annoying.
Well, we may have to do a whole podcast on that at some point, I guess, a mini-sode, and we can let you vent or celebrate whichever way you feel that day.
It's fine. It's fine. We're lucky to be able to go.
Well, let's turn our focus to something a little bit different today. What if I said we were going to talk about Harry Potter, velociraptors, and Bart Simpson?
Oh, God. I was with you until we got to Bart. I mean, Bart's fun too. Why not? Let's talk about all three.
All right, let's talk about Universal today. I'd like to welcome back to the show. It's been a while since she's been on, but I really want to thank you for reaching out and bringing this topic up, because I know that Universal Studios is kind of a hot topic these days for a lot of people heading down to Florida. And I'd like to welcome back to the show Jennifer in the Illinois area. How are you doing today, Jennifer?
Good. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for reaching out with this topic. I know it's been a little bit. It was last spring when you guys traveled to Universal, right?
Yes, we went the last few days of April.
Before we talk about Universal, kind of give everybody your Disney cruising background, because I know that you guys have been on several cruises as well.
Sure. We have been on 3 Disney cruises. One when we just had one little guy that was 2, and then we cruised twice close together this past fall with our 2 and 4-year-old, and now we have a 3 and 5-year-old, and we're headed to the Wish in a couple weeks.
Oh my gosh, does your 3-year-old get to go in the club?
Yes, first time.
Yes. That's like a not rude way of being like, is your 3-year-old potty trained?
Yes,
because
for sure.
That's basically the rule for 3-year-olds, for those of you who've never been. That's amazing. I feel like the kids clubs on the Wish are going to blow them away. They are so good. All the adults are jealous.
I'm very excited, and my youngest is the world's biggest Moana fan. So he is just gearing up every single day to meet Moana.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think. So definitely go see Seize the Adventure.
Yeah.
You're going to get some nice Moana moments in that show.
Well, I hope you get a Moana room as well, too. But I'm not sure if I've cracked the code as far as how you get that yet.
I think Moana is on deck 10 and we're on deck 8.
That makes sense. Christy and I on our pre-inaugural cruise had a Moana room, and it's gorgeous. The mural behind the bed is like Te Fiti when she's back into a beautiful island, and it has Moana sailing towards her and she's smiling down at Moana. It's so pretty.
Oh, I've thought about switching, but the rooms that are left are under the pool deck. So
oh no, not worth it. You got to get some sleep in the morning.
For sure.
Well, let's turn to Universal. Before we go over just the basics of it, Universal is a great option these days for people going down and spending some days either before or after a cruise, just like Walt Disney World. Did you do that in this vacation? Was this planned before or after a cruise?
No, we were actually headed to the beach for a week, but wanted to add a few days on. And so looked at Disney and actually decided to do Universal. Okay.
And who went on this? Who was with you this time on your Universal vacation?
It was my husband, myself, and our 2 little boys who were just under 3 and 5.
And why did you pick Universal this time over Disney?
So we picked Universal because logistically, Disney is a little stressful for me to think about. I like planning and all of that good stuff, but the distance between the parks and the transportation between the parks and the hotels is kind of a little bit of a bummer for us, especially knowing we'd probably want to go back for naps or pool time in the afternoon, and strollers on and off buses and all of that just kind of put me off a tiny bit. My husband and I have been to Universal twice before without our kids to do Harry Potter stuff. And we had stayed at one of the resorts that's right near the entrances, the Royal Pacific, previously. So we knew that if we chose Universal, we would be able to walk to and from the parks and do those naps and pool time super easy. And we knew that if you stay at one of the 3 premier resorts, you get unlimited express passes, which also meant no waiting in line with our little guys. So those were like 2 really huge perks.
And honestly, the competitive edge, you're like literally describing how Universal gets Disney people to go to Universal, right? Because Disney, for all of its like luster and beauty, is sometimes super hard to navigate. And those bus systems can be not unreliable. Maybe they come every 20 minutes, but I've literally had a bus come and then we couldn't get on it because it was so full. And then we had to wait another 15, 20 minutes for another bus. And like, I can't imagine that with a 3-year-old. So
yes.
Being able to just walk is that's a pretty big perk.
Yes, for sure. And we rented a stroller. So like one of those annoyingly huge double strollers so that our 5-year-old, who's pretty tall, can fit in it. And it was like so nice. There was no whining, no crying, no, I'm too tired to walk anywhere. So it just like really worked out really nice.
And did you go in the summer? When did you do this trip?
We were end of April. So it was hot, but
but not like, unbearable.
Not unbearable.
Honestly, April, great time to go to Florida.
Yeah.
Because it's warm and tropical feeling, but it is not the most hot.
Yes. Yeah. So it was totally bearable. And our kids get up at the crack of dawn. So we were there to rope drop the parks every day.
Well, before we talk about the specifics of this trip, Chris, they have Universal in Hollywood out where you are, and then Universal in Florida. Why don't you talk a little bit about just Universal in general? You've been to both.
Yeah. So Universal is definitely Disney's biggest competitor. And in fact, over the years, Disney has made moves to counteract Universal, and Universal has made moves to counteract Disney. And they just sort of go back and forth trying to get the competitive edge. But I think folks would probably be the first to admit, on our podcast at least, that Disney has almost always won in that area of like, wow, this is amazing theming. Wow, this is super immersive. And then I want to say like over a decade ago, Universal won the rights to produce a Harry Potter themed land. And it was the game changer for Universal. Like they basically outdid Disney in theming, and it was amazing. This land was so immersive. It was everything that that millennials wanted and everything that millennials wanted to show their children one day. They had an IP that would last a long time. They were able to sell butterbeer for like $8 a pop. They were able to like create wands that cost so much money, but you have to get them. And they just created this like really amazing land. And the thing is that there's a lot to do with that IP. So then they opened up another Harry Potter land in the park next to Islands of Adventure, and they connected them with a train, which meant that everyone going to Islands of Adventure had to buy a park hopper ticket if they wanted to experience both things and ride the train. And then they were like, we're going to build it in Hollywood too. So they built the Islands of Adventure portion of Harry Potter here in Hollywood. It's also, I want to say, in Singapore. I'd have to double check on which other Universal parks have a Harry Potter land. But the point is, the Universal of yesterday is no longer, and they are doing massively themed, immersive lands. Now, one big difference between Hollywood and Florida is that Florida once tried to pretend like it was a working studio. And they even had a studio tour. And then they were like, just kidding, we're not a working studio and nobody cares about that. So we're going to get rid of it. But fun fact, Disney's Hollywood Studio Park was built in response to Universal. It also had a fake studio tour. But if you go to Hollywood, you can go on an actual studio tour on an actual backlot where they're actually filming movies, TV shows every single day, which is pretty cool. But the parks are very different. Florida is much more like I'm trying to compete with Disney World, and Hollywood is much more like I am a movie studio that has some cool rides. So it's a different type of vibe. But We are annual pass holders. We live literally 10 minutes from Universal Hollywood. We can see it from our roof. So we can see Hogwarts Castle whenever we want, just looking over in that direction. It definitely is worth a visit. So I'm so excited to talk about your trip in Florida.
So for Disney people, we all know we have to plan ahead of time. For Universal, what did you guys have to plan ahead of time, Jennifer, as far as dining or anything else? What did you plan?
So that was another kind of nice thing. I knew I didn't have to worry too much about like our schedule while we were there because we were going to have the unlimited express passes. But there are a couple of like planning websites we still use, like Touring Plans has this subscription-based system. You can log in and you can put in all the rides you want to go on. And if you want like your priority to be less walking or like getting through the rides quicker, and it'll kind of make a customized plan for you and to kind of estimate what the wait times will be based on all of their data. So I'm a huge geek, so I like played with that for hours and hours before we went, but you absolutely do not have to. And they have the City Walk there, so like the downtown restaurant area, although we were able to get all the reservations we wanted with only like maybe 2 or 3 weeks out. We got like 5:30 dinner reservations every day with no problem. So you can make all your reservations, but it's not like getting up at midnight on 90 days or 60 days out or whatever Disney's is to secure those special reservations.
So
I will also say that their character dining has not come back yet, which is a bummer because their 2 character dining experiences are Marvel and Minions, which like we would have for sure done both of if they had been available.
So you talked about Cabana Bay the last time you stayed there. You said this was three days, right?
Yeah, we stayed there for 3 days.
Okay. And where did you guys decide to stay this time? And what did it come with that pass?
Yes. So we stayed at Lowe's Royal Pacific. So they have 3 premier resorts, Hard Rock, Royal Pacific, and Portofino Bay. And if you stay at any of those resorts, even for one night, you get unlimited express passes. And if you stay for one night, you get them for 2 days. So if you stay on a Friday night, you get express passes for Friday and Saturday. So it's kind of crazy. You can buy express passes for Universal, but they are like based on like crowd predictions. So the prices fluctuate and
they're expensive.
They could be up to like $200 per person per day if you go in peak time. So I don't know who actually buys them like loose.
Now, are these express passes one time per attraction per day, or are they unlimited?
Unlimited.
Yeah, see, that's like an unspeakable deal.
Yeah, it for sure is. And like we've looked at prices for those hotels like over winter break, and they're pretty pricey. I mean, it was still like an expensive hotel, but I think our hotel rate at the end of April was like $379. So not crazy at all for having unlimited express passes and being able to walk to the parks. And it's a nice hotel.
Yeah. Lowe's, they like contract out with Lowe's, but Lowe's is like an international brand. So you can find those hotels in a lot of major cities.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like quite like Disney theming, but it was redone maybe like 5 or so years ago. So it's pretty modern, pretty nice.
Right.
Great pool.
Yeah, I've seen that. And then like the Portofino looks sort of like Italy, right? It kind of has like Luca vibes from Pixar, where it's like, bright, colorful Mediterranean looking buildings. And you can also take water taxis, right? From these resorts?
Yes. So you can walk, Hard Rock's the closest, Lowe's is Royal Pacific where we stayed is the next closest. So I'd say it was like a 10-minute walk. Hard Rock's probably a 5-minute walk. You can walk from Portofino Bay, but I think it's a little longer. But all of those hotels, as well as 2 of the hotels in their next class down, are all connected by water taxi. And some of them, I believe, also bus.
Before the 2 of you kind of go through the parks a little bit, because I've actually never been, 2 more questions for you. Let's talk about the pools just real quick. Similar to Disney as far as splash pad slides for the kiddos?
Yeah, so our hotel didn't have a slide, but it did have a cool splash park feature. The pools are really big. And I don't know, I think you can do this at Disney hotels. Can you go to the other pools if you're staying on property?
You're not supposed to.
Okay.
the Disney, I mean, I'm not telling anyone to break any rules, but Disney is surprisingly lax about pools. Like you don't have to use a pool key to get into the pools on Disney properties or things like that. So I don't really know how they would know you were staying there. We, for example, when we were at Pop Century, we went across to check out the Big Blue pool over at Art of Animation. And nobody was like, you can't do this. But that was literally a 5-minute walk. So that's a little easier.
Yeah.
But at Universal, do they advertise that you can pool hop?
Yes. So you can pool hop to any of the resorts. So for us, Hard Rock was the closest, or Sapphire Bay. I guess they would have been equal. So we did go to Hard Rock one afternoon instead of our hotel pool because they did have a slide. Yeah, it was an easy walkover. And you're same, like, oh no, we didn't use our key. You can't go to the pool entrance. You do have to go through the lobby. But other than that, we checked that pool out as well. The pools are pretty big, pretty nice. They all have bars and restaurants. So we did lunch at the pool one day. So yeah, it was very, very convenient.
And just because I have to know, you said that you made certain dining reservations ahead. What restaurants were on your list?
So my kids are extremely picky eaters, and cheeseburgers is basically one of their food groups. Mm-hmm. So we ate by their request at Margaritaville,
nice.
Which was not very good, but we were still trying to eat outside mostly. And most of that restaurant is open air. So that was nice. And we ate at Cowfish, which sounds so weird and is kind of weird. They serve like sushi and burgers, but actually was very good. We had sushi and the kids had burgers. So it was kind of perfect. Actually, they also have like a huge second floor outside eating area.
That's a really hot tip.
On our first night, we went into the parks and ate at Three Broomsticks to do Harry Potter stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a must.
So last question is, Universal is kind of known, well, the thinking out there that I always hear on other podcasts and everything like that is Universal is where you go when your kids get older, your kids are younger. Just overall, did you feel like they enjoyed themselves, or is this a place that you think families can bring younger kids to?
Yeah, I do. So we did like extensive research on every ride, and my kids are obsessed with watching YouTube videos on going on Mickey Ship or to Universal or wherever we might be planning to go. So we knew what all the rides were, who could go on which rides, because we had, my son is just under 48 inches. So he missed kind of the last one, but got on everything that's over 42 inches. And then my little guy is just under 40 inches. So he did miss a couple of things. I will say, like, if your kids are like, tend to be more scared or more timid, that maybe it would still, even the rides they can get on from a height perspective would maybe be too scary, some of them. Our kids were good on almost everything they could go on. Universal, both parks also have a lot of parks, like for kids, like play areas. So we were able to do those as well. And then there are some character meet and greets. But the things my kids liked the best were Harry Potter and the Dr. Seuss area. They were a little scared of some of the Jurassic stuff because they're not really into dinosaurs, but they have a crazy, awesome, like rope climbing play area there that we spent a lot of time at. They had never actually been on or been to any type of theme park before. So it just kind of blew their little minds, the whole experience. That was very fun.
All right, Chris, let's have some fun. Universal is made up of 3 different parks, 2 arguably, 1 extra one, but Universal Studios, Islands of Adventures, and then their water park, Volcano Bay. Have some fun going around the parks, Chris.
Okay, so just a quick history, what's in the parks. So the very first park that they built out there was Universal Studios Orlando or Universal Studios Florida. That park originally was trying to be a studio. They even built sound stages. And they took the rides that were on the sections from California Studio Tour and blew them out to be their own rides. So they had Jaws, they had King Kong, they had Earthquake, they had E.T., a lot of these big, big rides. And then they had a studio tour where you'd get in a tram and drive around a backlot where they filmed actual TV shows. Of course, we know that that didn't last long, but it meant that they had a lot of land. So they realized, I want to say back in the late 90s, hey, we should build a second park because that's how we're going to compete with Disney. They decided to build this park called Islands of Adventure. And it's 5 different islands surrounded by a central lagoon. The 5 islands, this is off the top of my head, so correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, but the 5 islands are Seuss Landing. There's some sort of like mythical island, but now that island just has a walk through Poseidon attraction and a really popular restaurant called Mythos or something like that. Next to that is Hogwarts. Next to that is the best island, Jurassic World or Jurassic Park. Then in the back of the park, they might have like Skull Island or King Kong or something. Next to that would be like Cartoon Island, where they have like a couple of water rides themed to like Popeyes and some other IP that I'm not super familiar with. And then next to that, and most controversially, they have Marvel Superhero Island, which of course, knowing that Disney would later purchase Marvel has been real inconvenient for Disney because Universal has the rights to these characters in Florida, which is why you do not have a Marvel land in Florida. And you have a Guardians of the Galaxy ride because Guardians of the Galaxy was not a very popular IP. And Universal didn't think that it would ever be popular, so they didn't build any attractions or license those characters. So that is why the only Marvel in Disney World is Guardians, because they can get away with it. And then way down the road, they decided to build something called Volcano Bay. And Volcano Bay is arguably, from all reports, the best water park in the US. Everyone I know who's been there says the same thing. It blows Disney's water parks out of the water. However, to call a water park a third gate is like a little bit of just marketing mirrors and smoke, but it is supposed to be a very impressive water park. And it also comes with an unusual technology called Tapu Tapu, which is like essentially magic bands that hold your spot in line so that you're not just standing in endless water slide lines all day. And that is included with admission to the park, which is pretty cool. And I've never been to that park, and I don't really know if Tapu Tapu works the way they said it did. So I know you went, so I'm also curious to unpack that with you. So that's the overview of the 3 parks. Yeah. What did I miss, Jennifer?
No, that's perfect.
Okay, cool. So why don't we just start with your trip then? Which park, I guess if you're staying at one of those resorts, did you have park hoppers?
Yes. So when we booked, if you booked 3 or more days, you got a 5-day ticket. So we were there we got there Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, Friday, full days, and left Saturday afternoon. So if we didn't have this ticket, we wouldn't have gone into the parks Wednesday, but we did to use up a day. So we jumped in the parks, went straight for Minions, rode the Hogwarts Express over, and just did dinner and came back out. But first thing I'll say is 3 Broomsticks has 2 outdoor dining patios. And if you go to the one on the right, you have a perfect view of the castle and you can see the castle show from there. And nobody was there. So I hope I'm not spoiling it for the next time we go.
Oh, so you saw you were there at night, so you could watch the castle show while you were eating. That's pretty cool. And the castle show is what, the lights at Hogwarts Castle or something?
Yeah. So they do like projection mapping on the castle. They have 3 different shows like throughout the year. So we saw like the regular one. So we did have park hoppers for all 3 parks, and we did both parks every day. So we did one in the morning and one in the afternoon, evening, depending on just whether we were going to the pool or what time our dinner reservation was. So it's super convenient to go back and forth there. There is an inner park gate, but it's only open sometimes and it's very hidden and we never actually found it. So we just either took the Hogwarts Express or we just walked around or were coming from our hotel. So it didn't matter.
Yeah, the Hogwarts Express sometimes has an extremely long line. So the Express Pass is necessary if you want to use that as an efficient way to get from park to park, because literally sometimes it's an hour wait on the Hogwarts Express just to get to another park. But if you have Express, I bet it's fast.
Yeah, it was like didn't wait more than 10 minutes. One way is scarier than the other. So my kids liked not the way where you're going to Hogwarts and the Dementors come, but when you're going the other way and it's just like Harry and his friends like going home from school.
That's a hot tip. I forgot that they were different. So if you have young ones, there's one way where the Dementors come and try to take your soul.
Yes.
And there's another way where it's just on our way home, which, might be a little more fun for the kids. And the technology in that is there are no windows. There are windows, but they are projected windows of the outside. So you're basically getting into an air-conditioned show that plays on your window for 5 minutes while you're moving on a hidden tramway from park to park. But it's super cool because you get to go on the Hogwarts Express. If you've ever been to Universal Hollywood, the Harry Potter land here is just Hogsmeade Village. And it doesn't include Hagrid's motorbike. So there's really just two attractions in Hollywood, the little unicorn hippogriff basket thing, and then the big castle ride, which is called Forbidden Journey. Whereas in Florida, there are 3 attractions in the Hogsmeade area: the hippogriff ride, Forbidden Journey, and Hagrid's magical motorbike adventure. They really are good at naming things at Universal. And then over in the other park, there's just one attraction, if I'm not mistaken, which is Escape from Gringotts, which is like the Goblin Bank. But the other park has a really cool Diagon Alley with a ton of shops and food and hidden dark things. And I've been, but I hear that side also handles the heat a little better because everything's kind of in the shade.
Yes, they have like a structure, sort of like a shade structure over most of it.
Yep, which I think is necessary because it's hot in Florida. So that's Harry Potter. Since we're talking about Harry Potter, did you get wands? Did you have a favorite attraction? What was the vibe from the Harry Potter perspective?
So I, for Christmas, got my son like the illustrated Harry Potter book. And he was not into it. But then we watched the first couple movies and he got a lot more into it. So he decided in advance he wanted to get a Dumbledore wand. So we just got one wand because doing the magic tricks is actually like a little hard. So I knew my 3-year-old would not be able to do it. So he just played with it a little bit and then, didn't care about doing the magic tricks. So we did that. We drank all the butterbeer you could drink, ate at the 3 Broomsticks, went in some of the shops. My older son is tall enough to do the Hippogriff and the Gringotts ride. So we did those. You can walk through the whole castle on Forbidden Journey and not do the ride. So we did that twice so they could see all of the castle things. That's actually my least favorite ride. I think if you get motion sickness, that ride is rough. Even if you don't get motion sickness, I think that ride is pretty rough. We sadly did not do Hagrid's just because the wait times are sort of crazy. You can't use Express Pass on Hagrid's or Velocicoaster. So I just never broke off. I'm the Harry Potter fan. So I just never broke off from the kids and my husband to wait in the long line. So maybe on our next ride, on our next trip, I think my son will be 48 inches. So yeah, we loved it. We went every day and the kids by the end were like, okay, maybe that's enough Harry Potter now. And I was like, one more time. It's a huge attraction.
So with all those different lands between Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, what were some of your other favorite places that you as a family and the kids enjoyed?
Yeah, Seuss Landing for sure. They can go on. There's 4 rides there. All of them are no height restrictions. So we were able to do all of that. My kids oddly love Dr. Seuss. They're love the Lorax and the Cat in the Hat. They have a whole little Lorax area there. So we went through that. You can see the characters there. So we saw the Dr. Seuss characters. So that was very fun. And that's the area they wanted to go back to the most. The Marvel area, I don't really love like the look of it. It's more like comic book themed than it is like, it's not like Avengers Campus or anything cool like that, like modern like that. So they have like a kids ride there. They have the Hulk coaster, which we are too small for, which I have been on before and is not smooth. They have a Spider-Man rides, which my older son was old enough to do, which is like, I think one of the better rides at Universal probably. But they also really liked Universal Studios, which I thought would be like kind of a miss for us. But we went on the Minions ride probably like 4 times and maybe more than that. And they're doing a second Minions ride there now, but it won't be open for a little bit still. My son liked the Men in Black ride, which is like kind of like what I've seen of like the Toy Story rides where you like do the shooting at the things. A couple other kids rides. They have a kids roller coaster. They have a kids zone area. They have a Curious George playland. So we hit up a lot of the playlands throughout. Yeah, they generally just liked being in the parks, I think. Just a totally new experience.
Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Velociraptors, Chris.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, I'm nervous since you didn't go on Hagrid's. Did you go on Velocicoaster?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I will at least still talk about it. Did you go on Jurassic Park, the river ride?
Yes.
Okay. One of their islands is Jurassic Park Island. It has like a replica of the visitor center from Jurassic Park. There's some kids' play areas. It has the big river adventure, which, just so I can nerd out a little bit, when Jurassic Park, the ride, was designed and built, the movie Jurassic Park hadn't even come out yet. Universal was betting that it would be one of the biggest movies of all time. And so they started planning and building the Jurassic Park River Adventure ride in Hollywood at the time that they were filming Jurassic Park. Their bet was right. It was one of the biggest movies ever made. And it is also, to this day, one of the best theme park attractions, I think. It just is like the scale, the scope, it's cool. But Universal Studios Hollywood recently closed Jurassic Park the ride and replaced it with a permanent overlay of Jurassic World the ride. And so if you want to go on the OG Jurassic Park River Adventure, Islands of Adventure is the only place you can do that now. Well, they might have it overseas, actually, but in the US. But the Jurassic World IP is super popular. So they realized we got to do something with the Islands of Adventureland that has Jurassic World IP. So that is when they decided to make Velocicoaster. And Velocicoaster is very fast, very tall, very turns and inversions and all of that stuff. But it is set to the new trilogy of films. So it has Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and the new design for the Velociraptors. So that ride is there now. And from all accounts, it's one of the best roller coasters most people have ever been on. It's supposedly a very smooth, very thrilling, very scary brand new roller coaster, which I've yet to go on. I'm obviously very sad about that, but super excited to go on it one day. So that's sort of an overview of the way Jurassic Park folds into the Florida park. And then there's a little tiny ride in the land that's like called the Pterosaur Flyers or something that's kiddie friendly. It's like you have an overhead track that flies through the canopy of trees. Jennifer, you mentioned there was an awesome play zone there, which sounds a little bit like the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail if you've ever been to California Adventure. But anyway, you did go on the river adventure. So can I hear your thoughts on the Jurassic Park stuff?
A little scary for littles, for sure. And the other thing we didn't do was the raptor encounter, because we watched a lot of videos about it and the raptor like jumps out at you. And so my kids were like, we're not going to do that. But we just so we did, got soaked. Just my older son and I went on the water ride. We, did the walk around. The play area is super fun. It's like this crazy, like net thing that like you can like, And someone of any age, if as long as you have good mobility, could climb through. It's plenty big for adults. Very fun, very huge. And we didn't do the Pteranodon flyers. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce dinosaur words. Only because it's the only other ride you can't use Express Pass on.
Because it's the slowest loading ride ever, and the line gets really long.
Yes. And I was like, we are not waiting 45 minutes to ride around the area, but it's supposed to have an awesome view of all of the Jurassic stuff. So.
Yeah, I bet.
Is the river ride like Cali River Rapids? Is that like in concept? No, nothing like that. Okay.
It's like slow moving through, you're on a sightseeing tour that goes terribly wrong.
Okay, gotcha.
This is like the theme.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like Cali River Rapids, like no shade, but Cali River Rapids is like a river ride with a storyline of like, look at, they're logging these trees and destroying the planet. And then it's over. It's just literally like, that's the show scene. Jurassic Park River Adventure is like, you go through multiple animal enclosures and then things go terribly wrong and you go down an 80-foot drop. So I would say it's probably closer to Splash Mountain in terms of thrill.
Well, before we turn to Volcano Bay, anything else about Islands of Adventure or Universal Studios that we haven't talked about, Jennifer?
No, I don't think so. I would say based on what I've seen and heard just from the little Disney research I've done, the food is probably not as exciting at these parks, but there's still lots of good theme park treats. And this is maybe not like a Disney thing as much, but there's lots of alcohol available.
A lot of alcohol
available. And actually the Jurassic World has its own IPA that's made just for that area. That's very delicious. So I know at certain Disney parks, they don't serve, like I think at Disneyland and Disney World, right? They don't serve alcohol except in a couple restaurants, maybe. Is that right?
Yeah, Magic Kingdom doesn't serve alcohol except for Club 33. I think, at least it used to be that way. They might have changed it up. And then Disneyland only serves alcohol in Club 33, the Blue Bayou, and Star Wars.
Well, a Velociraptor IPA, you got me there. So we're going to have to.
Yeah, Steve, but you can get that. You can get that the next time you come to Hollywood. Honestly, The next time you and your family want to do an LA trip, we should go to Universal. We can show you it right.
All right. Let's make that happen.
Here. They have that here. I did want to tell you, Jennifer, that they tore up the track for Hulk and rebuilt it. Oh. So you're definitely right about how unsmooth that ride was, but they replaced every inch of that track in a refurb maybe like 5 years ago. So if you haven't been on it in the last 5 years, it is a better experience. The Hulk is still, to this day, a stressful ride for a lot of people. So I'm not saying that it's the easiest thing, but it is an iconic coaster because it goes out over the lagoon. It takes you upside down. It has a launch, but the launch is up a hill, which is pretty cool. So there's some cool vibes there. But other than that, I think you're pretty covered on stuff in Islands of Adventure. Can I hear your top 3 from Universal then? What were your favorite attractions over there?
Our favorite attractions over there were Minions for sure. So cute. And even if you've got little ones, they can still go on, and they have a couple of still rows that don't move. Motion. And actually one of our other top 3 was E.T. actually. I thought it was just so cute, so fun. Love that you get on the little bikes and walk through the little forest. So that was kind of a sleeper hit for us. And I know my son really liked Men in Black, and oddly the Jimmy Fallon ride, which is so random.
Random.
Yes. But also we went on Woody Woodpecker's kids roller coaster 15 times. So
okay,
I'd say those were our hits for little kids.
Well, let's turn to Volcano Bay then. I'm kind of interested to hear about the Tapu Tapu, because that sounds like, if it works right, kind of an amazing game changer as far as the way you spend your day in the parks. What was Volcano Bay like? What did you guys end up doing? And did that work as advertised?
Yes. So we actually used our 5th park ticket to go to Volcano Bay later in the week. So we have family that live in Daytona Beach. So it's an hour and 20 minutes from Orlando. and my parents were with us. So we brought just our older son back because pretty much everything except the pools at Volcano Bay are 42 inches or taller. So it's not really that great for littles. They do have a huge kids play area, but you'd kind of be stuck to that area if you had kids under 42 inches. So we came back just to do that for the day, and it does work as advertised. So you get it when you come in, and their big attraction there is a water coaster, like not dissimilar. Well, yes, dissimilar to that, like the Aqueduct, but much more intense. So you're in a raft, same thing. It's the water roller coaster type vibe, but there's a lot more like launches and falls than the Aqueduct has, but similar in that area. That's like the big attraction that can get like a 2 or 3 hour wait. So that you are allowed to tap into and still add another ride, because you can only use the tap at one ride at a time, except for the water coaster. Then you tap in and they have all these other things to do while you're waiting. So if you tap into a water ride and it's like a 20-minute wait, they have a slow lazy river, a fast lazy river, a wave pool, like lots of lounging chairs and stuff. So there's lots to do while you're waiting to go on the slides. Once you tap back in to go on your ride, when your little wrist thing buzzes, you walk up the stairs and you maybe wait less than 5 minutes.
That is nice.
I'm kind of like, how will I go to another water park where you have to stand on the stairs for 45 minutes? Like, terrible. Also, every single ride has like some kind of raft system, like the Aqueduct. So you never have to carry rafts for any of the rides, which is also super awesome.
I remember going to like Waves. I can't even remember now. Worlds of I'm never mind. Go ahead. Forget what I'm saying. I'm like, I just remember carrying those stupid things up and you're like standing in line, holding on to them. And I'm going to cut all this out. But so go with your thought. I'm sorry, Jennifer.
Well, and I was just like, how are we going to even manage like kids and rafts? But we didn't have to do any of that. So that was awesome. It's beautifully themed, like, tropical island, like very dense vegetation, very like everything is like super well done. And it's a little confusing to get around. So we're kind of like map studiers before we go someplace to kind of figure out, where we're going and what everything's called. I think the biggest miss is that everything is named like a Hawaiian or Polynesian name. And it's very hard to distinguish between the rides because they all sound very similar. So you're like, I'm not sure which one that is. But we loved them. They have body slides, raft slides. We didn't do like the body drop slides. That was like a little too intense, but we did everything else. We were there for probably like a good 6 hours. And it wasn't super busy the day we were there. So we didn't have long waits for anything.
So 2 questions. Was the water warm then? Like if you're on a hot day, you want it a little bit cooler, but I think about like some of those days, like maybe in the winter, was the water warm?
Yeah. So it was super hot. That was probably the hottest day of our vacation. It was probably like 93 degrees. So it was like felt welcome after walking around, but I do think it could probably be a little chilly. And I think they do close a little bit in the winter just because they won't have as much crowds if it's only like 70 degrees outside.
And then I noticed they have cabana rentals. They have single cabanas, family suite cabanas, and then premium seating. Was that something that you guys did? Because that seems like it might be nice to have a place where you could at least, go back and put your stuff.
So the couple things there, we didn't do any of that because it wasn't super busy the day we were there. So there were lots of chairs everywhere. But there are also locker rentals at various stages throughout the thing. And we just kind of risked it, which was really nerve-wracking, just kind of like left our stuff and would go do a ride or two and come back to our area. But I do think if it was busy, you'd basically have to do a locker rental because there's nowhere to, unless you do a cabana rental, which are pretty expensive. When we were there, I think they were between like $500 and $700, depending on the location. There's nowhere to put any stuff safely.
Unless somebody's sitting there watching it.
Yeah, right.
Gotcha.
Unless you have somebody that's going to stay at your seat.
Well, what I'm hearing them saying, Chris, is that Volcano Bay was perfect for their family. When they bring their 3-year-old on the Disney Wish, I think that the Dino District on the Wish is really going to be right up their alley because it has the premier water slide on the Wish, and there's a great splash pad for their younger son as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I should clarify my statement about Volcano Bay being the best water park in the US. I meant on land. The best on the seas is obviously the Dino District on the Disney Wish. But I do think that Volcano Bay is giving everyone else a run for their money. It's also just like it benefits from all the new technology, right? Like it just has a lot of newer water park technology. The funny thing is, this water park is built right up to I-4. Like the footprint of this water park is right up to a freeway because Universal is landlocked all around it. In fact, this water park used to be Wet n Wild Orlando or something like that. And then they bought it and made it into this thing that it is now. But I do think it benefits from modern theme park-ness, which is pretty cool. I'm excited to go.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. It has all the latest bells and whistles and is definitely benefiting from the technology.
To me, it sounds like a great way to spend the day, especially on a hot day as well. I know that was something that we were thinking about doing when we were down there in July, and we didn't go to one of Disney's water parks, but I think Volcano Bay, our kids would have loved that, especially with the different slides and everything else. Well, before we finish up, I really appreciate your, thoughts on Universal and your family's experiences there, and especially being able to pass this off to our listeners. They do have another park coming, which we'll touch on just a second, Epic Universe. But before we do that, I was wondering if you could give our listeners some tips or some thoughts if they're traveling to Universal with younger kids or just Universal in general for the first time.
Yeah, I would say if your kids are probably like 7 and under, I would just say do a stroller rental. We did a stroller rental in one of those big double strollers, and we had it's delivered to the hotel before you get there, and you just leave it at the front desk when you leave. So it could not be more convenient. We also did like Walmart grocery delivery. So we did take our kids are little, so they need to eat continuously all day long for snacks. So we took a lot of our own snacks with us just so that they could always have something with them. And I would say if you can swing it, there is no better theme park deal out there than staying at the 3 premier resorts in Orlando. If you go on a not such a busy time, the wait times aren't insane, but to just not have to wait at all, you're able to do everything you want. You can go on rides multiple times. And if you have little kids, that's the thing is they get something in their head and they want to go on it again and again and again. And you can actually accommodate that request if you have the express passes. So we loved it. And we were thinking of going again just before our upcoming Wish cruise. And we are going to visit some family instead, but we will definitely be going back just for the convenience of being able to walk and even at night too, walk to all the restaurants. So you can really just park your car and be on vacation there. I think it gave me slight cruise vibes, which is why I liked it so much. You get there and you don't leave.
I think that you guys would really love Disneyland too, because the Disneyland Resort is just so similar in that way, as far as being in the bubble, easy to go back and forth between the parks. If you want to take a break in between, whether you're staying close by at one of the friendly, what is the name of the resort? Good Neighbor Resorts, or whether you're staying on property, it's an easy way to do that. Well, before we finish up, and I'll give you one last final chance on thoughts, Jennifer, because I want to ask you about the Wish. But Chris, Epic Universe is coming. Could we talk about that just real quick?
Yeah, so I think the jury's out on whether Volcano Bay is actually considered a 3rd theme park, but that's how they market it. Is we have 3 theme parks in Florida, which means they only have 1 less theme park than Disney World, right? Because Disney World has 4 theme parks. But they announced before the pandemic that they were building a new theme park, a 4th gate. And they bought an obscene amount of land across for how landlocked Universal is. They were very lucky to buy this land. And it is across the I-4 from Universal. So there will be a bit of a logistical issue getting people over to this new park, but it is also across from the convention center in Orlando. They've announced the name of it. It's going to be called Epic Universe. They have not actually announced everything that's going in it, but pretty much everybody knows what it's going to include. So it is rumored to include a Super Nintendo world that will have at least 3 attractions to start: a Donkey Kong coaster, a Mario Kart ride, and a Yoshi kid ride. They are building a land based off of Universal's monster movies, which include things like Frankenstein and The Wolf and other such things. They are building a new Harry Potter land, which is rumored to be an attraction based off of the British Ministry of Magic. That will include going in through the chimneys or going into the fireplaces rather. And it's supposed to be huge in scale. It also is going to include, and this is maybe my most favorite thing, it's rumored to include a How to Train Your Dragon land with a How to Train Your Dragon coaster, which if you're not familiar with those animated movies, they are amazingly well done. And the music is everything. So they've got all these things planned for this park. New hotels as well. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is because this is the push I think Disney needs to be more innovative in Florida, because there has not been a new theme park in Florida since Islands of Adventure and Animal Kingdom, which was sort of the last time Disney went head to head on this with Universal. So this park is going to include amazing attractions, all new technologies. And honestly, I think it's going to cause this year's D23, which is in September, to be super exciting, because Disney has got to make announcements if they are going to get anything done before 2025, which is when Epic Universe opens. Obviously, I'm super excited. It's not very often in our lives that we get to go to a brand new theme park with all new lands and all new rides. So just throwing it out there, this is on the horizon, and it's going to make things spicy in the war between Universal and Disney. And I can't wait. I love spicy theme park wars.
Yeah, we haven't seen How to Train Your Dragon, so we have to put that on our list.
Oh, I think your kids will love it because it's just so good. And the music for How to Train Your Dragon, if they play that on a roller coaster, I will just immediately cry. It is so beautiful. It's going to be great. I can't wait. I think Epic Universe is going to be wonderful. So I'm so excited to see how it pushes the envelope. And then, you know, for everyone, we keep talking about Universal Hollywood having some awesome things. Super Nintendo World at Universal Hollywood is opening next year. In fact, it's opening early next year. You could actually stateside ride some of these new attractions that are going into Epic Universe here in Los Angeles or here in Hollywood, which is pretty cool. Similarly to Disneyland, Universal Hollywood has attractions that are in both parks from Florida. So we have Minions, we have Harry Potter, we have the Mummy ride, we have Transformers, we have the Jurassic World ride, but we also have a ride that's nowhere else called The Secret Life of Pets. It's a dark ride, and it's easily one of the best dark rides to be made, including Disney dark rides in the past 30 years. It is like a joy of a dark ride, and I love it. And I don't even care that much about the Secret Life of Pets movie franchise, but this dark ride, it is so fun and worth it if you have littles, because they can ride it and they get to see a bunch of their pets like talking to them. And the premise is that you turn into a dog, and then at the end you get adopted by a family. Come on, that is so adorable. So anyway, I would say give Universal Studios Hollywood a try too, if you happen to be out here, because a lot of the same attractions that Jennifer told us about today are here in LA as well.
So just looking at, I definitely give How to Train Your Dragon a look, Jennifer, because I think your kids will love it. That was one of our kids' favorite movies growing up too. Just looking at the space, it's 3 times, Epic Universe is going to be 3 times the size of the Magic Kingdom and twice the size of Epcot, to put it into perspective as to how big that's going to be. Well, as we finish up, Jennifer, you guys are getting ready to sail on the Wish here in a month or 2?
Yeah, we leave 2 weeks from Friday.
2 weeks from Friday. Holy cow. What are you guys excited about? What are you excited about seeing and doing on the Disney Wish?
Gosh, so excited. I was telling Steve before we started recording that I've consumed so much Wish content that I think I need to take like a break for a few weeks before we go. I'm excited, honestly, for the change in layout. Having little kids, like the adult district wasn't something we could really go to. So now we can visit some of these bars a lot more easily. So I'm really excited about that. Anything new, I think, is exciting. So try that out. Definitely the Dino District. We will be spending a lot of time there. I was skeptical of the pool layout, but I'm pretty excited for that as well after kind of seeing a lot of people say they think it's really working out to spread the crowds out. Characters, my kids love to see the characters. We have our reservation for the Royal Princess meet and greet, whatever it's called, to meet Moana. So that's like our highlight of our trip, probably.
Well, don't forget Chippendale's pool up in the front. It may be a little windy when you're sailing, but it might be a good place if the other pools get busy. Don't forget that one. I think that's kind of a hidden space there. Other than that, I hope you guys have just a magical time on the Wish.
Yes, we're very excited. Loved your guys' coverage. Felt like we were sailing right along with you.
Well, once again, Jennifer, thanks for coming on and sharing your experiences about Universal. And we would love to have you on when you get back from the Wish. And especially since you got little kids, we're looking for like some good content of their experiences in the club as well. Not as well as yours, since you're going to be able to be out and exploring and doing some things, just you and your husband. So I'm excited for you to do that this time as well.
Definitely. Well, thank you guys so much. This was great.
Chris, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I'm just excited for all of the things. I'm excited you did this, and I'm excited you're going on the Wish because she is beautiful.
Well, all the best to you and your family, Jennifer, and we look forward to talking to you when you get back off that sailing. Have a great end of your summer.
All right, thanks, you too.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.